My name is Grace Wethor. I'm a 19-year-old brain tumor survivor. My journey began 6 years ago when I was diagnosed with a brainstem glioma. These type of tumors have an 8% chance of survival for 6 months. A couple years after my diagnosis, I set out to write a book about my unique story and the story of 11 other brain tumor survivors. We called it You're So Lucky. After the initial release of the book, I started traveling the world and living my dreams beyond my wildest imagination.
Hey, what's up, Grace?
No surprise, Grace Wethor is everywhere right now thanks to her starring role.
I balanced my work in entertainment with work in activism and got to go to the United Nations headquarters in New York City and spent the last year on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. fighting for brain cancer legislation with our members of Congress. 6 years later, my tumor is stable, but I still fight every single day. And I know a lot in my life has changed since the release of the book. And a lot has changed with the other survivors as well. So I wanted to come back and give them a chance to say a few more words. Welcome to the next chapter.
Lost out in the open, waters nearly frozen. Don't know where the coast is, diving through the ocean. Crawling back again, don't know what's the mood, but I can't wait no more. Running out of time, running out of time, running out of time.
Outfit of the day, I'm wearing Converse, this beautiful couture gown with a matching diamond bracelet, and a golf weighing mask, thanks to Tyler, the creator. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. And yourself?
I am doing good. For people who don't know, this is my very good friend, Gigi. She is, I'd say, person number one that probably came into this project and into this book. And she was really the start, I think, of this little community of people that I started building over these past couple years. I'm going to tell the story of how we met, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but I actually tell this story very frequently because I'm on Zoom calls almost every day with members of Congress talking about the reality of these illnesses. A lot of people think that these brain tumors are rare and not many people have them, and that they have a really high survival rate. Sometimes that's not the case. They're not rare, they're just unseen to the people around us. And that is how Gigi and I met. We were both homeschooled and we had to go in once a year for science labs. There was like less than 5 kids in our class, and I got to talking about my brain tumor somehow. We were like doing science cells and I was like, oh, I know what that is. I have a brain tumor. And Gigi leaned across the table and said that she had a brain tumor too. I think that's just a perfect example of how this illness is all around us and everyone is going through something, whether they choose to share it or not. Walking down the street, we don't look like people who are fighting brain tumors, but that is our reality. And so I try to take that lesson into everything I do on a daily basis. That cashier at the grocery store is going through something. That person yelling at someone at the car rental place, I don't know where I came up with that, but they're going through something too. And a lot of our lives are hidden. I think meeting Gigi in that way made me realize even more that I should share my story as much as possible, because you never know who needs it or who is going through the exact same thing. For people who don't know you or haven't read your part of the book, can you give a little recap of everything pre-book and how you ended up here in your medical journey?
Yeah, of course. So pre-book, I'd say that I had symptoms basically since I was born, but we didn't really know what it was. And then I started getting really bad headaches in like middle school, migraines, and then visual disturbances. So I went to see a neurologist and they told me I had a cyst. So we were kind of told, oh, it's a cyst, it's not causing these problems, you're fine. But then the headaches persisted, and then I had more symptoms that just kind of started tacking on. By 8th grade, I would have a constant pressure headache. I acquired a movement disorder due to the inflammation in my brain, and a bunch of other symptoms and lists. And then my freshman year of high school, I decided that I really couldn't handle being in school, so that's why I went online. And I had surgery. And so this is 4 years post-op. I had my surgery on December 7th, which is also my dad's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. And yeah, I mean, recovery was difficult. I mean, brain surgery, any surgery is always going to have a difficult recovery, but I think I wasn't necessarily prepared for how hard it was going to be. But I'm extremely grateful for my surgeon, Dr. Kim, and all of the people that I found through support with Grace from Can't Make a Dream, and then from my support group on Facebook for pineal cystic tumors. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
And you mentioned Can't Make a Dream, which is where we grew even closer. I walked out of science class and ran up to Gigi's mom and said the words, "I am kidnapping your child and going to Montana." I think she thought I was insane, which I probably was. But we ended up heading off to Gold Creek, Montana, which is where the wonderful Can't Make a Dream is. And we attended a conference called the Heads Up Conference, which is a week for teens with brain tumors. And through that, I think we've kind of grown this little community of people who understand what we're going through. And these past couple of years, we've lost a couple of our friends, Kate and Ariel. And I think just having this community that has shown there's not just one way to fight a brain tumor. And there's a lot of different steps that I think can be considered victories. I always hate when they say they lost their fight, because I think all of our fights are so different. However, what I really, really loved at Can't Make a Dream is we realized that a lot of our emotions and experiences were shared by everyone. I think you sometimes feel like you're the only one going through this, but we got to talking about bullying and being unseen and energy levels and just things that we never would have thought would be everyone's experience. Can you talk a little bit about how a community and having that has helped or changed your perspective these past couple of years?
Well, I think it's definitely changed my perspective in a lot of ways. It was really hard growing up because I was the kid who was always sick, always needing to, have extra time to do tests or, needing extra time to just kind of relax. And I felt kind of isolated in that. And, not knowing that I had a tumor, and then later on discovering it's kind of a big deal, and then not knowing anybody else going through the same thing. So I think, like you said, the shared experiences was a big deal. And even like the things that weren't exactly like identical, like my tumor was benign, so it wasn't cancerous, and I never went through chemo or radiation. So it was kind of interesting to hear, how other people went about their treatment and how that felt for them, and how they were supported through that. And then also finding the similarities, like having doctors tell you that you're making it up, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I think just having people around you that get it. And I think that's like a really big thing of like, you can sympathize with somebody, but being able to say like, I'm going through that too, or I've been there too, this is how I dealt with it, that's like everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really grateful for camp for that.
And then how are you doing 3 years after the book, health-wise and life-wise?
Health-wise, I'm doing pretty good actually. Um, I'm on medication right now for my paroxysmal dyskinesia, which is my movement disorder. But after surgery, and about maybe 2 years after surgery, basically all my symptoms went away. So, yay! And right now I am in college working on a kinesiology degree in exercise science, and then hopefully physical therapy school after that.
Amazing. I want to read a little thing from your chapter that you wrote. At the very end of your chapter, you said, "So I chose a year of recovery and surgery over a lifetime of unhappiness and pain." Bob Marley once said, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice." I had to be courageous and brave because being those things was the only chance I had at living an extraordinary life. I love that. Can you expand on that and what those words mean to you 3 years later?
Yeah, I think from where I was at that point in time, I couldn't see myself going to college or being independent or living my life the way that I wanted to. And, surgery wasn't something that I would ever wish upon anyone, but it's what I needed to get through that. And I don't regret it at all. I mean, there were hard times and definitely moments where I was like, why did I do this to myself? But seeing where I am now and what I have accomplished and what I hope to do in the future, I am just extremely grateful for that. And I think we're all given challenges, and it's just up to us to decide, whether or not we're going to suffer through that or fight through it. And with the support of family, friends, people who are also going through it, I think that that's just an amazing support system. And yeah, I'm extremely grateful for where I am now.
Do you have any words for people who are either interested in learning more about the perspective or people who are currently fighting brain tumors?
Yeah, I think just find your people, find people who have the same tumor, find people who don't have the same tumor, just people who have tumors in general, and talk to doctors, talk to, not just other people who have gone through it, but their loved ones and how they dealt with it, because it affects everyone. And, just taking the time to figure out what you want out of it and, all the ways that you can make your life as great as possible despite the circumstances. I mean, yeah, that's just the whole point, is not to survive, but to live. So, yeah.
I love that. One last thing before we go. During the launch of the book, we were all on a panel at the Barnes & Noble at the Grove. And I ended the panel with the question, do you have a personal definition of luck? And do you think you're lucky? We had an array of answers, and I just want to see how you're doing with that, and see kind of if your perspective has changed over these years. So do you have a definition of luck, and do you think you are lucky?
I think that luck is dealing with the cards that you have in the best way for you. I don't think that it's something that just happens. I think that we can create our own luck or destiny, whatever you want to call it. And I definitely think that I was able to do that. I am now able to go to school, and, although I sometimes need extra help with the student services, I'm able to get that, and I'm able to succeed in my classes. And I'm just in a place where I can accomplish what I set my mind towards, and I didn't think I was going to be there 4 years ago. So, yeah, that's my luck.
Awesome. I love that so much. Thank you, Gigi, for coming on.
Thank you.
Gigi's like my best friend, guys. So this is like, it's hard to be professional. I am so glad you're doing well. And I'm so glad we got to share your story with everybody. I think it really is such an interesting perspective to have two of us who ended up in the exact same place unknowingly. The members of Congress have heard the story many times, and they all, I think it shocks people, because you never think it's going to be you or your family. The second it is, everything changes and you suddenly have a new perspective on the world. So thank you for being a part of that story and allowing me to have that new perspective as well.
Well, thank you for having me.
If I told you things I did before, told